just merge all of it, cause I have other stuff.
Okay.
What else did she do? Cause the lamps would come with that, she said everything.
Okay, I agree. Let me forward you the list that I got. That's not a list I told you.
4 o'clock, we'll call the February 7th Justice Youth and Extension meeting to order. We are short, Jonathan Undershoots, I got a text from him, he had some kind of major breakdown at the paper mill, that he'd be unable to attend. Other than that, has everybody had a chance to read the minutes of the January 3rd meeting? The motion to approve? Motion's been made, is there a second? Second by Mr. Taylor. Any questions or comments or corrections in the minutes? None being heard, all in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, minutes are approved. Public comment. Anybody wanna speak in public comment? Nobody? Rich?
Two things, we'll do the teen court first and then move on to what I have for the teen court is, we've stayed adequately busy, but it's kind of balanced out so far, at least up until this point. Couple of teens in the teen court completed all their sanctions and moved on, a couple in traffic court completed all their sanctions and moved on. The biggest thing was the crime for life. I had to run, I normally like to run with 5 people, and it didn't look like I was gonna get 5 people for a while, so I ran it on the 27th, 3 were signed up, 1 was a no-show, and 2 completed everything they needed to complete, so the no-show is gonna go into non-compliance, and that particular individual will have a 6-month suspension of driver license, and they have to pay the full fine. The others that completed it, the underage alcohol still stays on their record, but they keep their license and they pay a reduced fine. I think the fine is only $105 rather than $300 and change. So that's the benefit for completing that. I've had a couple more registrations, and teen court is active, and I've got it scheduled out till April now. Don't know what's gonna happen once Judge Anderson takes over municipal court, because I know he intends on referring a lot of people from municipal court to our court, which never happened before. So, if that adds on, I may have to add additional days in there to keep up, and we'll just play it by hand and see how it goes from that point on. So, that's where we're at right now. I don't have any truancy. Human Service has been handling all those, which has been excellent. And the kids I have in the teen court now, right now, are a pretty good bunch of kids, so we'll see what happens. I've got a couple more volunteers that just wanna sit in and just see what it's all about, so got them scheduled to come in next week, and they'll see what they want to see. So anyway, had a couple out from court this week, and I'll go on next one for court, but I've got several scheduled for intake court, both traffic and in teen court. I'm gonna pass these around, you guys can read this whenever you can, but this is a response to one of the essays that we had, one of the kids do. Just did a really nice job, and it's always kind of satisfactory when you figure that they got enlightened a little bit as a result of that, so. I don't know if I brought enough, but I appreciate it. So, anyway, that's pretty much where we're at on teen court. Vaping seems to be the big issue now. That seems to be the response going forward. Jeremy, are you running into vaping with the young people that you're dealing with too?
I think, Rich Green and Travis, I could talk about it a little more heavily on any referrals.
Yeah.
However, I shared the story that my 10-year-old son came home and was talking about, vaping for free.
Yeah.
So, it's definitely prevalent.
Yeah.
I think all districts are trying to.
And I'm not running into it so much with the older kids, but it's the 11, 12, and 13-year-olds where we're running into the problem with the vaping.
concern is, they're obviously not buying their vapes from an authorized agent, that were being sealed, so they're getting them from their friends, they're getting them wherever, and there's drugs showing up in these vapes, so.
That's the concern, if the cartridges are potentially have other
Right.
things in it.
Yeah.
Could be that, could be THC, could be, you know, any of those things that,
Yeah.
get unwrapped.
Somebody of age buying them and giving them to them.
Oh, well, you know, the concern is, they don't have any idea what they're getting on it. So if they're getting that from a friend, but, you know, everybody says, well, why would a drug dealer wanna give it to these kids, because the penalty's higher? Well, if they can get kids hooked when they're 12, 13 years old, you know, they're gonna be a future customer. What was coming? Oh, good checker.
She's like-
Ashley, don't panic yet.
His lights got big fast.
So that's pretty much where we're at with our teen court. Had a conversation with the sheriff, he sees an increase in activity too, so.
Do you remember the case down in Leesburg? A senior was in the same predicament,
No.
late for school,
Mm-hmm.
and he come up on the school bus and killed that girl because he went to swerve and miss it.
Yep.
It's the same scenario.
Oh, yeah, that happens a lot. That's not one of the higher speed ones I had, but it was one of the more well-written ones, one that you could actually read and make sense out of. Some of them, it's kinda like, granted, my eyesight's not as good as it used to be, but, some of them, I'm not sure that they're written in English, but.
Yeah, it's not that shit.
Yeah. But it's nice when you get one like that, you know that they're gonna believe that you're having something back.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. You make a difference, someplace, somewhere.
Any questions, Rich?
If you don't mind, when we move into the recovery court, most of you probably know, I was elected as vice chairman of CJCC at the last meeting.
Found
So
it out today.
So that's the reason I'm presenting
I'm finding out right now.
CJCC's aspect on that, so, if you don't mind, if we discuss under recovery court, we discuss, C and then B, and then I'll let you do this thing from that point forward, if that's okay with everybody.
Anybody got any problem with that?
CJCC, we discussed and hashed over the criminal justice service manager job description. You might know, our original thought was if we could get personnel, look at a person and refer it to this committee. Terry mentioned that he wanted to follow proper procedure on that moving forward. So that's why that job description is forward to this committee at this time. And I think we went over it, if it wasn't last time, it was the time before, with some possible suggestions that were made regarding that job description. And I think, those have been made, if I'm not correct, mistaken, right, Drew? So that job description was, approved by CJCC and recommend approval from this committee also going forward. And I would imagine from here it would be forward to personnel and then to Carlson Detman for evaluation on wage and all.
Full board first.
Full board, okay.
Rich, could you maybe just give them a backstory as to, you know, the difference between something like this, you know, the discussion in CJCC
Well,
versus,
yeah, I can, and going forward, Drew right now is the CJCC, what is your official title?
CJCC coordinator.
Okay. So, as a result of that, and we were looking at incorporating both those jobs, and this job description was in the grant, or this position, not necessarily the solid job, but it was in the grant forwarded on, so it's approved by the CAD grant. So, as of right now, there's grant money to fund that particular position. And what we're looking at is incorporating a lot of the criminal justice services and a lot of the, diversion programs. My position would, as our RYP coordinator, really, I kinda sit out there, or that position kinda sits out there in limbo as far as the supervisor goes. You know, I'm kind of the redheaded stepchild, so to speak, going forward on that, and we haven't really locked into a supervisor. It wouldn't be appropriate for human services because they refer cases. Not appropriate for the DA's office because they refer cases, not appropriate for the court. So that in part would fall under the criminal justice services manager as my supervisor. Or our RYP supervisor, I guess maybe that's a better term in case I'm not here forever and ever. But, looking at that would encompass that would also encompass the position of the drug court coordinator also would fall into that, and it's included in the duties also. So, basically, overall, that position, whoever fills that position, would be incorporating all those duties, plus any other diversion programs that would come forth out of the court. And Ellen, District Attorney Ellen, when she was here, mentioned other diversion programs, so, I don't know what those would be presented, but that would fall under the criminal justice service manager, going forward, so. That's pretty much where that falls in. The job duties and the description are rather encompassing and lengthy, but, we felt that it does cover everything that we envisioned in that position.
So the services manager would also be the recovery coordinator,
Yes, sir.
which would, you know, based on how this is written, that would no longer be my responsibility to supervise that, because this says it reports to the administrative coordinator.
Yes. Yeah.
Just wanna help clarify what that picture, that
Right.
organizational chart looks like.
Right, because then we wouldn't have a drug court coordinator in the future per se, would be other things, yeah.
I think we talked about, we specifically thought in CJCC that Harrelson Denton would probably align this either at or above what the current recovery coordinator is placed at.
That is our belief, yes.
Well, I mean, with the additional responsibilities, probably would likely be above.
I think it will be above because the current drug court coordinator doesn't supervise anybody.
The way I read this is kind of turning this into almost a department head position. Is that your take also?
A little bit, yeah, I guess I just, in here, what is the CJS division? Can you find that, or Drew? Is there,
Well, right now it'd be just me and I guess Rich, if that's the route that was to be taken. But yeah, it would kind of turn into its own department, and if in the future it's decided, hey, we need more people because of, a workload, then we could put them under that umbrella as well. But I mean, it would just become its own department, own division, word that how you want, I guess.
Organizationally, I think this is what we kinda had some discussion with at CJCC. CJCC in Rusk County has no authoritative power. It's not a committees on committees assignment. And so CJCC is a result of the TAD grant funding application acceptance. You have to have that body, okay? So the county, at whatever point in time that was determined, did not assign,
Oversight duties.
oversight.
Yeah.
It's just an adversary,
Advisory, yeah.
similar word, not meaning the same. It makes advisory to the TAD grant and other things. And so I think again, where some work probably is on this is, what exactly is the CJS division aside from CJCC? Is that this is, like Drew said, this will encapsulate a fair amount of effort around treatment, recovery, and those types of efforts, which includes recovery court as well as then any other developed
Right.
program.
And,
Again, that's my take, that's solely my take.
yeah, and also to coordinate with probation parole and link in with them also and input, and it would be, that person would be responsible for doing the drug court team meeting and taking over charge of those drug court team meetings.
And if you take the current recovery court coordinator's responsibilities, those would be included in here.
Yeah.
So you've got core reporting, you've got the recovery team meetings, you probably could have a compass responsibility in there for risk assessment.
And to add to that, we've already got Drew registered for the compass assessment course going forward. So yeah, that would put it all under one hat, so to speak. Where in the past, we had to rely on probation parole and or George in the jail to do our compass assessment.
Did I understand you right, Rich, when you said, excuse me, that this position is gonna be funded by the TAD grant?
Yes, sir. It's already approved by the TAD grant.
It won't be fully, it'll be.
Well, yeah,
We've got a match.
It's still the county match would come into that, you know. But, you know, just like anything else, like, my wages for the time I put in for drug court, whether it be for, the MRT program that I run or been filling in, I'd be here regardless, so that portion of my wages goes to the county match of the TAD grant. And as with, assuming the sheriff, and we did talk to him this last week, it looks like the sheriff will come back, to help us out with drug court in the future when we get a coordinator or whatever up in front. So whatever wages the sheriff commits to drug court, whether it be attending the meeting or, just people helping us out with drug testing or whatever, they would indicate that on their time sheet, so that portion of their wages also goes to the county's portion of tax. And whatever, you wouldn't, because you're covered by grants anyway, so anything on your department.
Ours cannot be
Right.
considered
Yeah.
match money because it's RDP.
Right.
Crystal,
So Rich's wages, just to clarify, yours have never been part of the match.
Oh, haven't you?
No,
Okay.
well, your time filling in as the drug court coordinator, we bill to the state, and as long as we have county match in other ways, they have covered that. And the MRT hours, the county has paid out as they chose to have you do the MRT, and that is part of the levy that does contribute to the match when we had participants that were involved in MRT. So that is, but it's not time that you would have had that we're using as match, it's time that the county is choosing to pay out to have that match time.
Alright.
more questions?
What is the match? Is it like 60/40?
It is 25%.
25% of the county pays.
Of 167, 25% of 167, or what's spent. So whatever's spent of the 167, 25% match. That's exactly.
Right. And now last year, obviously, we didn't spend anywhere near what we had budgeted because we didn't have the drug court coordinator.
So those funds are just gone.
Just in terms of it, yeah.
But realistically, we wouldn't have, we were struggling to make the county match portion last year, and that's why earlier in the year, I don't know if it was this committee or the county board chose to put money into the, training and those things, so that we would put out more money in order to have the benefits of the drug court grant. So it is kind of an ongoing struggle to get that county match. It's kind of one of those things where you put in a little, you get out a lot, but it's not a given that we have that match there without having to make an effort to make sure that it's documented and find ways to supplement it, because right now it has been a struggle in past years.
So this was not a line item then? For.
No, it's not a line item because it's a line item in several other budgets, whether it's the sheriff's department budget, you know, because a certain percentage of their hours or time will go toward the match. Or from what I'm understanding, some of Rich's can.
And there were things like in the past where they relied very heavily on jail sanctions as, you know, kind of a punishment during drug court. That was something that was a large source of our match. Well, as they go away from that path completely, you know, that match part dwindles too. So there's things that as the program evolves, kind of, you know, we might have other things that come up as being great things that we can tap into, but as time has gone on, it has become a bigger struggle to get the passive county match that doesn't require us having to invest in it at the levy line.
And she's right about that, jail sanctions 2 or 3 years ago were utilized very heavily for somebody that had any kind of a rule violation. The overall state program was to steer people away from jail sanctions and have more therapeutic type sanctions going forward. Not that we would use, and I'm a firm believer, in somebody that continually messes up. Jail sanctions are generally the most desirable option. But, the state wants us to go with a little bit more therapeutic options going forward.
I have a couple of, I guess, questions, issues with supervisory functions. One is the interview and make hiring recommendations. The interviewing here is done by an interview committee with the department head and not by one person. Did you catch that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, hiring recommendations, yeah, but this person
I mean, could sit on the committee,
Mhm.
but the other one is, employee transfers, promotions, and, disciplinary action and discharge and salary increases. That's done by the Carlson Definite Study, so there is really no one person that recommends a salary increase. It isn't aligned with Carlson Definite.
Well, let me ask you this, can we forward the description, pending the elimination for these, because I really would like to move this forward, because we've been kicking this cat around for nearly a year now. If we could eliminate those, is that reasonable? Eliminate those things and then move forward? Any elimination goes forward that to personnel then?
Only one person sitting here, Rich, so
I understand.
one more down there, education experience. Explain to me appointment conditional upon successful completion of criminal and caregiver background checks. That's part of that.
Yeah.
Is that
Yeah, that's
normally
fine.
in your job description though?
Everybody in our department has to pass the.
I understand that, but is it normally written in the job description?
Or is it just in like the job posting?
I think it's just in, yeah.
Is that all hiring is contingent on background.
Right, but I think this is the first job description I've ever read again.
That's probably a new Ashley question.
I thought the same thing when I reviewed this, that we typically wouldn't, unless that's your standard practice, but we typically wouldn't put it in the job description. That would be in our job posting when we post it, but it's conditional based on that. So I think we can remove that from the actual job description. Yeah, that too, the cell phone, we would need to have that in there. I, briefly, yeah, I did look over it, very long, but I know you guys said that. Yeah, it seems very, just, yeah, a couple, like the math functions, you know, maybe a little too detailed, so we need it to be mathematical skills, ability to add and subtract. But I also haven't had a time to review all of our job descriptions, so I didn't know if this was common, that we have this many things in our job descriptions, as far as like reasoning ability, language skills, and all of that stuff.
So you, actually, you feel that under education and experience that additional, that should be.
Yeah.
And Terry, what was the second thing you mentioned besides the interview and hiring?
Salary increases, 2 down from the interview.
Oh, I see.
Put it on the end. I said, that's done by Carlson Got scale, so.
There's one bullet point in here under administrative functions that says administrative functions.
Yep.
Like, it is talking about overseeing the budget, only department heads oversee budgets.
Okay,
Is that on the
that,
second
Right,
page
so
too?
that draws a
Yeah.
question here, because this is kind of written as, semi as a department
Yeah,
head.
yeah, I guess I didn't, check when I went through this the first time.
I mean, I wonder if that would be good in relation to Grant, because if Grant and I read over this also, I didn't even pick up on that point, actually. And I'm not, I mean, we forwarded that to CJCC members and nobody mentioned that either.
The granting functions right now are whose responsibility?
I mean, Crystal's handling all that, aren't you?
I am right now, and I have no emotional attachment, if I can hand that off, that's fine. But they use that, they use 10% of my job as match for that, so that would be another amount that they would have to come up for county match if that goes to some other area, so.
But in relation to budget determination and that kind of stuff, judge in this position would have that discussion along with the squad, I'm assuming.
It's under the clerk of courts, isn't it? That budget,
That budget is still, has been under the DA's budget.
it's under the DA?
So, I mean, again, it's one of those things that wouldn't need to be moving forward, but it has been, and if we take it out of there, then that does create an extra expense you've gotta find elsewhere for county match.
Feels like you'd be formulating a plan for this person to bring it to this committee as a budget review, that's the oversight. And so if you're developing a budget, not you, but going forward, if you're developing a budget, you're bringing it to this committee to say, hey, this is what we're submitting.
And
this is why.
And to be further transparent, now, I helped with that in 2023, but with the 2024 grant, that was something that Drew and Annette handled completely in creating that for the 2024 grant. I wasn't involved in that, so it is something that has been, you know, that I'm not exclusively involved in, even though I had been previously.
And the challenges we faced with the 2024 grant, by the time it went through the county board and they said, yes, we're gonna apply for the grant, what, do you have 4 days?
Something like that.
Yeah, 4 days to get that whole package in and get it submitted to make it by the deadline.
So that didn't even come here.
Right.
Yeah, I mean,
Right.
like with our CJCC didn't see it, this committee, there just wasn't time.
Right.
So just the question I have, Ashley or Drew or Rich or somebody's gonna have to answer this to me. Are we creating another department head here? Or does this fall under the existing department head?
I don't think that the this should fall under the district attorney's office for some of the same reasons we discussed with conflicts.
Right.
They were
Right.
referring,
Yeah.
right, but, you know, if, this reads more as a department head, I know it's under me as it's written, so then the budget oversight would become my responsibility, because we don't give budget oversight to people who aren't department heads. But I don't know who else it would fall under, you know, can't be under HHS, can't be under district attorney, can't be under courts.
Right. Yeah, for all the reasons that RYP shouldn't be under those
Right.
either.
Mhm.
I don't envision it as a department head, even though it's an elaborate job description, which by the very nature of program, the job description has to be detailed. However, I don't envision it being a department head, but rather a supervisor within the department, you know, county administration being the department is my take on it.
May I? I know I no longer have a dog in this fight, but I've heard a lot of assertions that it can't be under DHHS and it can't be under the DA's office because of conflict. I know that is asserted, but it is not necessarily true. There are other counties that have housed these programs in DHHS and that house them in the DA's office. For example, in Eau Claire it is. So it's not necessarily a conflict of interest. It's also been housed outside of those departments and separated. So the county does have flexibility. It's not necessarily, you're not necessarily locked into something, is all I wanna say.
Questions? Correct me if I'm wrong, but this would be the only department that you would actually be the department head of. You're kind of a head of department heads. Am I all wet there, or?
No, typically there's a separation between me and other staff, yes. No, Jeremy's between me and the HHS staff, and Ashley Goodis is the same way, there's no one directly under us to keep that separation. Yeah.
Yes, it does.
Such as. Oh, okay, I see.
Can I ask you a question? So some of the stuff in this job description is related to CJCC. Now, you're currently the CJCC coordinator, and that's funded by a grant from Marshfield.
Correct.
So could there potentially be a different funding source or an additional funding source with TAD if you're performing CJCC functions? Or this person is performing CJCC?
Yeah, so the TAD grant we wrote for this job description, essentially, the grantors are fully aware, they're up to speed with it, and they accepted the budget as is, so, as far as the TAD grant, they are okay with paying for this position.
Did you have copies for the, I don't think the board has seen that yet. Did you have copies for D2D?
What was 2D?
Or
The-
where you wrote the narrative as Rick was describing to the grantors? Did you?
I didn't bring that,
No, was it in here? I'm sorry, I didn't find copies.
don't know.
No?
And does this absorb the CJCC coordinator responsibility?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep, and so, cause the Marshfield grant is done soon,
We have
hours
about
wise.
10, 12 weeks left,
Yeah,
something like that.
yeah, about 10, 12 weeks left.
So I think that answers Ashley's question is, if there won't be two.
So it's somewhere else.
Correct, that's,
Yeah.
that will end,
Yeah,
but the CJCC coordinator responsibility is within, housed within this position.
Right, and my understanding was, and this ran out, position ran out. Now we figured out how to come out the backside of this and call it a different title and take money from the TAD grant.
So
To create a position.
So organizationally, that's the discussion I think we had, is, having been a previous chair of the CJCC, when the Marshfield Medical money came on board, I just was a part of my duties. Judge Barnum was a part of my duties. Previous people were part of their, just whatever they were doing. When Drew came along under the Marshfield Medical granting, that was the first time that the coordinator was getting paid to wrangle that squad when we needed. Okay? Otherwise it was just, hey, let's get everybody together, let's talk about, we're doing the program. So that set a different precedent of a position, so to speak, that would run CJCC. This proposal organizationally is doing that same thing, turning it into a county position. That's how I see it.
Yeah.
And so that's where the work is, having created positions as a department head. Organizationally, that's where personnel is gonna really wanna hear, what is the organizational aptitude and latitude that is afforded by this position, before it then goes to finance and then the full county board approval. There's a lot of moving parts there. We've discussed this. Essentially, it absorbs that and the
Kind of a
CGCC.
combined position.
All of that. There's a lot of moving parts to it.
Plus, it would have some supervisory responsibility that those two positions never had before. In that there'd be supervisory responsibility over the RRYP coordinator, and be also over any additional diversion programs that got created as any other grants or anything like that came forward.
So this is, it's gonna become a county position that will be funded by the TAD grant.
Yes.
And so, just being devil's advocate here, what if the TAD grant goes away, or what if we don't qualify for the TAD grant?
Then I would say that position will probably go away, is my understanding.
Yep.
Well, as you're saying.
It would be the same as the drug court coordinator in the past.
But as you're saying that, Rich, what he's done is now is running out, and we've created another position to keep it around and take the money out of the TAD grant now. And again, if the TAD grant goes there tomorrow, and nobody, it doesn't show
Well,
up, then we're done, right?
let me clarify just a little bit. TAD is very adamant about keeping these drug court programs going forward. If we have a viable working drug court, which we should have once we get a coordinator, whatever title, back in place, we're gonna have everybody back working. We haven't gotten a lot of referrals because without having a coordinator, without having a good, solid working relationship right now with a coordinator, we're not getting referrals from private attorneys, we're not getting referrals from probation or parole, we're not getting referrals from public defenders. Because we don't have that. Now, we picked up one referral this past month, and I can see that going forward. Our maximum as far as people in the recovery court program is slated for 12. I see no reason why we won't be real close to that 12 once we're back up to speed. Having said that, even though is next year competitive? Next year is competitive, I believe.
Ooh, I don't know, I thought that was a 5-year.
Maybe.
I think you're only year 3.
I'm not sure where the next, I think it was maybe 3, so next year probably is not a competitive year also, so it's not on that. But the state wants these programs to exist, they've got a lot of emphasis on these drug programs, because obviously drugs is a major issue, and it isn't going away. So I don't see that occurring going forward.
Another concern is that, so currently the county is struggling to meet that 25%. right now. And it seems pretty obvious that with these additional responsibilities for this position, that wage is gonna go up.
No, no.
So if we're struggling now, 25%, you know, what's gonna happen in the future with the higher wage, et cetera.
Well, exactly, and you know, if you can think back to like spring, like what Crystal was mentioning, in spring of last year, the finance committee decided to pay that couple $1,000 out of levy to send them to training down in the Dells, because we knew, based off of the last couple of years, that we were going to struggle to meet that match. So, it'll likely be the same situation for 2024.
So we're gonna have to levy additional funds. I guess it seems to me that this should be a line item in our budget, as opposed to trying to rob Peter to pay Paul. You know what I'm saying? But why?
Well, it is technically a line item in the TAD budget already, cause you would just be replacing the coordinator wages, like this news manager wages.
But you're pulling that 25% out of different groups.
Oh,
like-
you're talking about the match, yes.
Yeah.
Which the match it really can't be its own line item, Tom, because that's how the TAD grant is specifically designed to take. When Rich does something that the TAD grant approves of, we're already paying his wages, so they assume that as a match. The same with some of the sheriff's department, or,
Sometimes you get space,
yeah,
location, and all those things get wrapped into that 25%. We have a whole bunch of those in our.
Yeah.
It's still 25% match of what you spent, what you're requesting reimbursement on. It's 25% of that number. And so, it doesn't matter how you get it.
Right, and some comes from the DA's office with Crystal and
Crystal, is there space in that one too? Is there, I think there's always an indirect.
It is, our issues were with the way, the numbers that we could count, and I know Jamie would be able to talk to this a lot better, like when years ago, we could claim about 16,000 for that amount of space that we occupied in the building, you know, and the X amount of heating, et cetera, and everything. This last year, we're down to being able to claim only $5,000 out of that. So this last year, we met our match because all of our expenses were very, very low, but when you look at, you know, we're gonna have to come up with like 42,000-ish in little piecemeal things, you know, even wages of other people, you know, you look at, okay, an hour of the sheriff's time to show up for that meeting, okay, we've got, even with all of his benefits and stuff, okay, there's $30. I mean, to get to that number is still a big number to get to. So there are counties that do have it like, yep, the county's just gonna contribute 40,000 and then we get this whole funding thing, or we piecemeal it. So there's a lot of options there. I don't think they limit our options as far as how we do it, but it does get
Budgetary
trickier.
viability is the cost allocation plan does ebb and flow.
And
That's
it's
the
like,
difficulty.
and it's like Jeremy said, his position is already grant funded to some extent, so his hours can't count. Sheriff's department is our county employees, so their hours can count, but like LPD, when they help, they aren't county employees, so their hours don't count. You know, it comes down to all of these little things, you know, probation and parole, when they help out, their wages aren't already paid by the county, so that while a wonderful help and an important part of the program, it isn't helping get towards those match numbers, just like the judge and the district attorney are state paid, so their time doesn't either. It's very specific and very nitpicky on the things that you can and can't use.
And what Tad would like you to do is say, hey, we're gonna leverage the 25% because it's a viable, worthwhile program. So they're just saying, hey, you put your skin in the game, whether it's cash or credit, however you wanna calculate it. They want you to say, hey, you got 25% to leverage 75%.
And the thing of it is, with that 25%, those dollars, we're actually still coming out ahead because we haven't, the participants that we have in there are, their children are no longer in foster care, which we're not outlaying. They're not in jail, which I don't know what the cost per day of having somebody in jail is, but I imagine it's significant. So when you offset that and you look at, yeah, there's 25% out there, we have to come up with it through some accounting and or dollars somehow or another. What we're not spending is probably more money on the greater side for things like, housing in the jail or having their children in foster care, things of that nature. You could probably address that savings, significantly more, but, I know right now we've got 3 children that were in foster care that aren't anymore, and, that's a significant amount of dollars, and that's just one participant that we have active at this time.
Any idea where, okay, what was the wage of the drug court coordinator, and any idea where?
24.57.
Okay, yeah, yearly.
Can't do that one off the top of my head.
24.57 times 2,030.5 hours, and then.
Just a hair under $50,000.
Okay.
That's, yeah, straight salary, that doesn't include benefits.
Where do we think this one will land?
I think it will land at least a grade, maybe 2 above. This reads as a department type job description in my opinion.
Where does that put us? 65?
26 hours an hour, the grade above, grade 12 is 25.94 to start. And then you go to 28.98 at a 14.
So I think it'll be somewhere in there,
That's
26, 27, 28.
But then if you got full benefit package and all that stuff, that's 20 grand, you know, you HSA, all of those add-ons are, they go quick.
My question where I'm going with this is by going with this style of job description, we put more of a department that we're eating up more grant money to pay a person than we are to help people.
The interesting thing about this though is that the TAD grant also authorizes, Rich can speak about this way better than I'm gonna, but there's incentives within that TAD grant to use that money for the things you're talking about. Medicaid's on board, for folks, private insurance, those kinds of things for counseling, therapies, psychiatric, all of that other stuff that holistically a person might need. Those things are there, built in, not coming out of the TAD grant. So generally speaking, other than maybe some incentives and some other things, it generally is like cost, it's coordinated cost. And again, I'm not speaking like well versed on that, but people I've talked to, that's where your cost is it's position cost. It's our point person cost. So that's not out of line at all.
And now there's a significant portion of, on our treatment, when we send people for inpatient treatment before, the room and board came out of our pocket, you know, we had to come up with that somehow. Now, Jeremy, there's some grant money available to cover the room and board when it's opioid related, so then a lot of our drug problems are opioid related.
Any further questions?
What exactly are we expected of with this today? Are we wanting to, move this forward to the board, or?
No, I think that's what they're asking.
You need to go to personnel.
Go to personnel, that's right.
So historically speaking, that is, you guys are the oversight committee for this. You guys chew on it, send it to personnel chews on it, sends it to finance chews on it, sends it to full company board for resolution to create a position. You're creating a position. And I don't wanna misspeak here, Rich, but, you know, just tell me I'm way wrong on this. The alternative is, the next thing you're talking about is that, you know, the county could choose to have Drew be the interim recovery court coordinator.
Right.
Fund that out of the TAD grant, and this gets some work for future down the road, but the key is the desire is to get back to having a point person coordinator for that recovery court effort.
Yeah.
Period.
And elaborating on that with what I see is the trend in the RRYP is, okay, we've got one participant right now, and I don't have any problem handling that one participant, the same when we had 2. If we were back up to our participants where I think we should be, there's absolutely no way I could do my RRYP job and do the drug drug court coordinator, if we had probably more than 4 or 5 participants, would absolutely take full time, because right now, we just terminated one, but right now with just the one that we have in there, I don't know, I'm probably spending close to 30% of my time just working on that, and that system. So, we'll get to the point where I can no longer do that. And with Drew, with the, Marshfield Clinic grant running out, if we don't do something, we're gonna say bye-bye to Drew here in another, probably 3 months going forward. So, that's the situation.
So another point then that I would be, it seems to be a general consensus that this is actually not a department head position. But
But
there's
the
no,
job description's written as.
there's no clear, verbiage in here that states who this individual would actually report to or be under.
It says right in the
Well,
top.
yeah.
Right at the top of the job description, it says administrative coordinator.
But
Reports to.
Oh, okay, all right, I missed
But-
it. Sorry.
Jeremy, the issue with that is, in all of these places, there's a department head between the administrative coordinator and the personnel. So that is, the way this is written, that is making this a department head.
Yeah, well, that's something you guys, I mean, I've seen it multiple ways, Ellen just eloquently said it much better than I will, is you have to be creative with these positions. You have to, in small counties especially, you have to be creative. That's a county decision in our setup, has to be determined how they're gonna be creative with either a position, the use of those funds, how we're gonna run the program. And again, that's a terrible answer to the, but that's what it is you have to be creative. If you go with this kind of position, it's kind of all encompassing. I mean, it would give the CGS the opportunity to run a bunch of things. Look for new grants, look for additional grants, look for, programs to expand to, we're talking about high-risk, high-need customers, okay? These are folks that are dangerous in our community, okay? There's a lot of other folks that sit through the programming that are lower-hanging fruit,
And
okay? You don't mix them.
And there is money out there available, we just can't mix those, we don't have the resources right now to deal with those additional programs, where if we turned around and the person that works this position, I would envision that, part of that, job function would be seeking out those grants and those, finance sources that we could develop stuff without coming out of the county pocket.
But is this too much for one person? So you just said 4 or 5 participants, that's a full-time job, then we're bringing in CJCC duties and expecting them to find more grants? I mean, this, and you know, when Ashley had to leave, she kind of mentioned the same thing, this is a huge job description.
It is.
CJCC is because it doesn't have really any authoritative design to it, is more of a manifesting the criminal justice system capabilities. I mean, this stuff we've always done is.
By the national standards, and I've gone through those, significantly over the past couple of weeks. The national standards, the CJCC, is the, people being involved in the criminal justice system who recommend certain actions to the governing body, whether it be a city council or whether it be county committees or county board and so forth. That is the mission of CJCC, and the idea behind it is to windrow, so to speak, what's going on, because various committees, you guys, the county board, can't be expected to understand or know or be able to research everything in the criminal justice community. So it would be our job as a CJCC is to keep you informed as to what's going on and provide you with the group of people that were in here that were all involved in the criminal justice system, providing myself and the sheriff, who is now the chairman, with, knowledge that we can bring to the boards and, keep you informed, and to reach a consensus as far as the CJCC as to the best practice as far as the criminal justice aspect that focuses on the county. That is my understanding of the mission of CJCC. Am I pretty much on track there, Alan, as far as your understanding of that?
CJCC is supposed to bring together the concerns of criminal justice in the entire county and what would meet those needs, and then develop innovative programming to address those needs, and
Right.
those are as individual as the county is.
Right.
Can I just add one thing, and I don't know the answer to this, but I think it is something that's worth exploring before we go too far down that path, is I don't know, would you be allowed to use TAD grant funded time to be looking for other grants? I don't know whether that's something
That's a good question.
that would be able to be even included in those job duties. Well, they're
That's gonna be
paying
part
you
of
to be
that-
doing the
That's part
TAD
of that grant
activities.
application, that those folks have to render a scope of work that is available. It's just, as a permission asker, you ask them that, is this an allowable resource under that?
Good. Ashley, you bring up a good point. Brought, I guess by you, Rich, speaking that, you get 60 people in this program, that's a full-time job. Well, and the way that being said, that leaves these duties undone.
I can see a point there, yes. Well, let me throw this proposal out, and I know it's not something that certain people wanted to hear. Well, and John, you have a good point, let's go back to the drawing board. Drew, if we don't move on this week, or this week, can we go back and work with Ashley and Ashley, sounds like a corporation, but to, refine this thing a little bit and modify it a little bit so it's a little more digestible. Can we do that, and you guys, I'm kind of putting Ashley out there because
She can't defend herself.
she can't defend herself, but would you be willing to do that and work with Drew? And perhaps next month we'll bring this back to the table again, or at least bring it to the CJCC meeting again and say,
Yeah,
this doesn't work out.
I think the CJCC really needs to weigh in on this again, because I think the intent of this position is a little lost.
Okay.
The more we kind of dig into it, it seems like we're just kind of desperately pulling everything into one position to try to fix what's going on, is
Right.
how I'm kind of reading
And
this.
then after you two spoke, we almost got a job and a half or a
Right.
job and 3/4 in one position.
Because I know Judge has spoken at length about turnover in this position as with drug court coordinator,
Right.
because it's so stressful, it's emotionally taxing, so then do we wanna add this other stuff on to that person?
And I can attest that emotionally taxing too, because it is, and I'm sure Jeremy faces that with his human services work a lot too. It's really stressful.
Yes.
Yeah.
But the coordinators over the years have done a pretty, I think, a pretty good job, having set up the team over the years, it becomes a routine of how you're trying to develop an individual service plan for each and every consumer, with their input. It's self-determination, and so it really should become sustaining for the consumer to develop their own plan. It's just the coordinator is wrangling that squad of individuals.
And part of the issue is, and one thing that has bothered me ever since I became involved with drug court, is when we do have a turnover coordinator, that's when we have participants at fault. That's when we have the relapses and what have you. So we do have to work something out where we maintain that level. Now, Drew's not the coordinator, obviously, he's not filling in, but what I have observed with him, and obviously the position be open. But he handles those stressful situations pretty well without going bananas on it, so to speak. So it's, you know, and that's what it takes. It takes that even, steady personality. So, regardless of what position we fill, that's the type of person that we should be looking for, and not me.
So if you don't take action on C, and you go to B, like Rich had
Right.
respectfully asked you to look at, piggybacking on that is, you know, Drew was assigned, or actually he interviewed and was, assigned the duties of the LTE, the limited term employment, opportunity for the core reporting to catch things up. He knocked that out of the park. These are things that are my responsibility to supervise him. He needed very little supervision. He learned the core system, and got in there. He's definitely demonstrated the ability as the CJCC coordinator, to be thorough and do all those kinds of things. And so, again, I don't know what the process is about appointing an interim recovery corps coordinator, but Drew has definitely demonstrated that ability to work within those.
And if we don't move on this job description, if we could recommend that to the committee here today to approve Drew for that interim drug court coordinator moving forward, that would be a big help for us.
We can. But can he continue as he is now?
He's continuing under the MMC grant as the CJCC coordinator.
It's right here.
So, both, some of them, but Rich is doing the bulk.
Yeah.
Of the recovery.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah, to be.
But can we consider this as a higher
You
position?
should forward that to personnel if that's the direction you wanna go.
Yeah.
Yep.
So is this gonna be like LTE recovery court?
Well, that would be under the existing job description for the drug court coordinator. That would be under that job description. Drew would be the interim drug court coordinator until either A, this job description or a similar job description to this gets approved and goes through the process, or B, we say, no, we're not gonna do that, we're gonna actually hire a drug court, a recovery court coordinator.
I see one problem with that, that you've got a man holding two jobs. Cause right now, you're holding a job as a CJCC coordinator under the Marshfield grant. We can't appoint you to what is another full-time job. You can't hold two full-time jobs, to me, and draw pay out of two different kitties, so to speak.
I think what we're saying here though, Terry, by the time we got this through the system, as Jeremy said, by the time it goes through this committee, by the time it goes through personnel, by the time it goes through finance and the county board, his money as the CJCC coordinator of the Marshfield branch is probably gonna be gone and expended.
I would think an interim appointment won't have to go through the finance, it doesn't have to go through the full board, because it is an existing position in the county.
Oh, okay.
Yes, and like Connie said, if it's LTE, that's personnel's jurisdiction.
Yeah.
And Drew's time as the CJCC coordinator is only 2 days a week?
3.
Okay, so.
Yeah, you're at 29, right?
29 hours, yeah.
I think we need some more input from you, from Ashley and Ashley on this, if it is a good one personnel, if that's how it's gonna take. Because if he was to fill in as interim, okay, 30% of your time, if it was gonna take 30 or 40% of that full-time position, then it's still gonna bump this into a full-time position. Am I correct? It'd be two split positions. but-
Yes, but under the LT, are you worried about benefits?
Yes.
So under the LTE title, we don't have to offer benefits, but the thing with LTE is it needs to be a hard stop at a year. The intent is that this is not an indefinite thing, there is an end
Right.
date. Mhm.
That's my understanding also.
Yep.
So some action would have to be taken on this and or the recovery court coordinator prior to that year's expired.
Correct.
So are you looking at an LTE position, or are you just looking at the fact that you could forward the personnel the recommendation that Drew is the interim under the full-time position of the recovery court coordinator as it sits as a county position? Or are you looking at LTE?
So kind of the same structure that we did with Linwood Snyder. Yes.
Which would be incorporated this way in the personnel committee,
You guys, yeah, the final.
So for my,
I'm not lost, I'm just thinking about all this.
so just for my clarification, so when this goes forward then and he starts as interim, then that discontinues Rich's hours that is currently under the drug court, or will that be allowed to continue as well?
I would probably work with Drew, at least bring him up to speed on everything I've been doing, and then probably go back to doing MRT.
Just so I know,
Just
just so I
the-
figured now is the time to bring it up, so you guys can clarify however you wanna do it.
This is what I, or whatever that's worth. It seems like the more we discuss this, the more our wheels start spinning. So, I think we should motion to refer this to personnel, to let them make a determination on, you know, how they wanna proceed as far as getting, like, an LTE, whatever it is, interim, I think it needs to be LTE. personally.
Well, it's both, it's a
Yeah.
limited term employment, but it's an interim position.
Right. I think some of the things like, are part of it actually.
Well, this is, no, the job description ain't involved in this. This is B. B
Oh,
on
we're
the
going,
agenda.
okay, never mind, sorry.
Well, you're in the right part. You're making a motion to push this personnel to LTE.
Yes, that's my motion.
Okay, motion has been made to move the interim recovery court coordinator to personnel, made by Tom Kudo, seconded by John Campbell. Is there any further questions on the motion on the floor? None being heard, all in favor signify by aye. Opposed, motion carries.
Now to clarify for my purposes, Drew and perhaps myself is gonna work with Ashley and Ashley to refine that position to make it more work. Is that, am I correct on that, John?
Let me get there.
Okay.
On number C. I will make a motion to push this to the club, but you need to get with Ashley and
Should that go to CJCC before it comes to this committee then? We will need to put that on CJCC agenda.
Well,
I
I
think
would,
Ashley should work with it.
Cause it went to them originally, right?
Right.
Yeah.
To work hand in hand with this job description.
Okay.
all right, I guess my question was, here's a month enough time for you to bring it back to you.
Let's aim for a month, and then, yeah,
Yeah,
let's
I
aim
agree.
for a month, yeah.
Okay, then I have a motion on the floor for, the job description for Ashley Heath and Ashley Goodis to work with Rich and CJCC to refine this job description and bring it back at the March meeting. Is there a second?
I second it.
Seconded by Tom Cooper. Is there any further questions or comments on the motion on the floor? All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Okay, I do wanna bring you up to date, I don't, well, Stefan, you was there, right here, but, our monthly report, our one participant right now has made tremendous progress. Obviously, we talked last month, we terminated one of the participants for any one of a number of rule violations. But our participant that we have in there right now has made significant progress. Over 127 days drug-free. Got a house now to live in. Housing has been taken care of. Has her the individual's driver's license back again, which hasn't occurred for a number of years. Has a job working for Rusk County, as a matter of fact, at the Senior Youth Center. Is working on getting placement of her children back again. They're currently with her significant other, which may or may not be the most ideal environment. But her kids pretty much have been staying with her. Apparently it's a nice living arrangement, from what I understand, more than adequate and in good shape. So that's progress that has not been made in a long time. If you would have seen that individual a year ago, basically when I first started working with that person, you'd have never thought she'd be where she's at. Basically, an absolute wreck. You know, so I think she has done wonderful things, wonderful things. I just wanted to bring you up to date and know that we're not all struggling.
So, Rich, I'm gonna go back up to
Sure.
G. Is there any out of county travel in the current year budget?
Not for this month, and Crystal could enlighten us on the month. There will be out of county travel in April for the Wisconsin Treatment Court Professional Conference, and that will involve several months, but we'll bring that up next month.
Crystal, the budget, could you?
Yours very early, so far, very, very good.
All right,
Thanks.
anything else, Mark?
Thanks, Rich.
I got one.
Reviewing a TAD grant application. Is that,
I think we
Bring
already
that back.
did that last.
Yeah, that got approved.
if I'm not mistaken, December meeting is supposed to come back,
No.
It is in January.
I'm looking.
and it didn't come back in January.
No, I'm sorry, here. January 3rd, we didn't have it
Aaron,
officially
I'm gonna forward
back
that
in
to
from the grant. But then the next day, January 4th, when I checked, it had fully been accepted. So we have a TAG grant for 2024.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's in the minutes that it needed to be.
So I
brought
think
back
it's just
to
a
this committee.
miscommunication. He's telling you that it was awarded to us from the state, you guys are talking about accepting it. So that's where the disconnect is.
And then the acceptance is from, I think it's the chair, right? The chair of the board?
I thought last we heard we don't even have that physical copy back yet from the state.
We do
for
not
them
have
to-
the physical copy back yet from the state, as far as I know. We have it accepted in their system.
They have awarded it
They
to
have
us,
awarded
we
it.
have not yet accepted it. That still has to go through the committee processes.
Yes. So we are still waiting from them. We are still waiting from them to finish up the third quarter of last year for the financial stuff. So I mean, they have been way behind. So I mean, we can't even enter data from fourth quarter, correct?
Right, I mean, the county still will have to at some
Yes.
point determine whether or not they're going to accept the grant and sign the paperwork accepting it, making it formal. So that part still does have to happen.
So is it going to come back to us first, this committee?
I
For us to
believe,
forward
yeah,
to the
he has
county?
to bring it to you.
The grant is essentially stated, we will present the grant with updates to the committee next month, which would then this month.
And we don't have the physical copy at this time.
Okay.
So
So we need to put this on the agenda for
I-
next.
The application is, I guess, what probably is.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, to my understanding, there was we had some questions on, oh, correct me if I'm wrong, Ashley, but some funding sources, or some cash matches or something like that.
Right, so remember, was it back in November or December, we went through the grant, there were several things that they
Yep.
kind of circled and had you go back and make the changes
Yes.
on? So is that, in the minutes here, is that what we're talking about, the grant with changes, the application?
The grant
right?
application,
Is that-
correct?
I wasn't sure.
Okay, I think,
That's not in this one, but.
well, cause it says present the grant with updates, so I'm guessing that's what that's referring to.
Yeah, but I
You
submitted, and then,
And we never seen it once before it was resubmitted. And that was what was set up in the minutes, I think it was December, correct?
December, I think.
and then in January, okay, I might be, I thought it was, we needed to accept it. I thought that's what we were.
No, it was, there was some, and I don't remember what the discrepancies were, no, but there was some discrepancies and some changes that had to be made. And I think it was John, if I remember correctly, that made the motion to bring it back here after them changes were made, to let the oversight committee
Review it again.
review the changes that
Because
were made.
you had a wage in there that you just kind of pulled out of the air.
Yep, and that,
And all the other stuff along with it.
Yep.
And then we said, go fix that, bring it back to us, we can review it, and it never came back, it just kind of went straight forward and on down the line.
Yeah,
okay,
So we have not seen the revised.
application. And I'm assuming you don't have it with you today either.
I don't have access myself to go and see it right now. It's been a week plus since I've been trying to get to it. The grantors haven't given me access to it, cause I didn't submit the grant, so it's not under my name or anything.
That's gonna have to come back, yes. You wanna move that, or just wanna? I think you should, I think you should.
Review 2024 grant to next month.
Application.
Application.
Motion's been made, is there a second? Second by Lois. Any further questions or comments?
I just have a comment, correct me if I'm wrong, but when you spoke of this at the last meeting, Drew, I believe you said that it was 100% funded by the TAC grant?
The CJS position would be 100% funded by the TAC grant.
Hang on, that's got nothing to do with the motion on the floor.
Well, I know that, but I mean, that was the part that, as it turns out, that's not accurate. That's, I know, never mind.
It still isn't, the questions I'm asking for is anything on the motion that's on the floor.
Okay, then I'll hold my question until we pass this.
Okay.
Sorry.
No questions on the motion? All in favor, signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried.
Okay, Drew. So correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that you stated that the position was 100% funded by the TAG grant.
Yes, the CJS position is 100% funded by the TAC,
But
the TAC grant.
it was brought to our attention that may not be a correct statement.
Any which way you put it, there's a 25%.
There's a 25% match that has to happen, yes.
So that would mean, that would not mean that it's 100% funded by the TAG grant. Correct?
Yeah, I guess that's one way to look at it.
Yeah,
okay.
Oh, that is the way to look at it.
It's 75% grant funded, 25%
Yeah,
levy or match.
Just to make it clear for everyone, so
Okay.
they understand.
yes.
Cause I mean, so there's 25% actually that comes from the county.
Yes, but somewhere it has to, we have to have that 25% match.
Yeah. No, I'm done.
You're okay now?
I'm okay now.
Who wants to, Crystal, you wanna talk about the DA?
Ellen is still here.
Okay.
I will
Thank you for
supplement
that,
if
everybody.
needed.
Thank you. Thank you.
Who
for-
else come on?
Thank you for considering.
Thank you, so much for that.
Hey, fantastic.
Thanks.
Hey, you need me on Thursday, on Friday, you can talk about that. You need me? I'll show up, but I will be, you know. See you.
So
So, our totals for under review are up by 7. The referrals are up by 2. Our juvenile delinquencies are up by 4. So, you know, when you look at it that way, we're sort of holding our own with only having, a DA and no ADA in the office. Had a trial last month. That was a wild ride, kind of conviction. So, yeah, no out of county travel. So that's A, right?
I'm sure it's too early in the
It
year.
is so far, everything looks great.
Yeah, very early in the year. And, you know, Crystal, as you can see, has a handle on everything on a lot of different things, and so she's the right person to be here and to help you guys with a lot of the questions we have. In regards to B, the bathroom issue, that kind of, it has been an ongoing discussion, I know, with the prior DA, with me, but with this trial issue as well, and I know with the concerns that the county is still working and struggling through what is the jail expansion gonna look like. But it's a huge security issue. On the 3rd floor, the only bathrooms are across from the courtroom. And we, as prosecutors, share that with sometimes defendants if they're not in custody, with defendant families. Victims have to go in there with defendants and defendant families. And then we had a brand new twist at this trial, which was that there had been concerns that people could hear in the jury room in the courtroom. And so the judge cordoned off that hallway and put the jury in a conference room across from the courtroom, so nobody could use those bathrooms. And then we had a huge defendant family, we had a sensitive crime, physical abuse of a child that took place over years, with family members, of course, citing, right, against different family members, because family members are coming in to testify, family members are all of those things. And to try to navigate so they're not gonna run into each other. So up and down staircases or into bathrooms on different floors, and it was not a good scenario, and I just want that to be on your radar, and it should come up in front of the security committee as well. I've already talked to Nancy Khan about it, she's on that committee, Crystal's very aware of the struggles we had in that regard in this trial, but it's an issue. I have talked to Gary, and he said really it would be no big deal to just bring plumbing up into that expanded area in the DA's office, and just put a toilet and a sink in there, you know? Because, you know, we have witnesses who are sequestered, you know, who need to use bathrooms, I mean, there's just a lot of issues. So just keep that in mind, please. It's important. I don't know if you have any questions about that, but that was an exciting trial, let's just say, because of all of those issues, and then some.
I think, and we have to, probably should make a note of this and bring it up to the property.
Yeah, that's what I was just gonna say.
Well, and we've actually looked into this with the Samuels group, and they said the same thing, tapping into the existing jail plumbing would likely not be a problem.
So is it more of a property thing?
I'm finding out how to fund it, yes.
Okay.
So I mean, if you would want to forward it to property, I can do it here too.
Well, and if it helps when you start looking at cost trade-offs, you know, during that trial, now it's a multi-day trial, she said multiple family members, so what we ended up having to do is, any one of our witnesses that sequestered had to be escorted by one of us every time they had to go to the bathroom, so we put, some of them used first floor bathrooms, some of them used second floor bathrooms, but then we ran into the trial was also on
of the issues, because there were so many family members, that were either defendant witnesses or supporting the defense, the judge said, well, you should get a room too. And the room they got was the Zoom room right across from the clerk of courts, so we could not bring family members to a bathroom. We had people who, right at that elevator, were confronting people. It was not a good situation, so.
Well, yeah, but like, if
I
you
think
wanna
I
move on
would-
this, it should go to property
I
and
would
I'll pay for the
entertain a
jail.
motion to, move this to property and, get this looked at sooner versus later. Motion made by John Caleb, seconded by Tom Kudo. Any questions or comments on the motion on the floor? None being heard, all signify by aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Hope it helps.
Do you have a space upstairs that you're thinking of that would work?
Well, I mean, we do have enough larger rooms there where there are places that we
They
could,
can be
you know,
stolen, yes, I mean,
there are
there's,
places that we have, you know, different visions in mind, oh, we could use this for this or that, but if it came down to it, a lot of those things would be good, you know, there isn't just one spot that would be ideal, and obviously, something I think.
and then the coverage plan. So I have been, you know, there's a process with the Department of Administration. They're like our human resources for the state. And they have a director of the prosecuting unit within the state, so all the prosecutors. And their process is, first we have to ask all the surrounding district attorneys and their offices if they will help us. Well, there is no office that isn't understaffed. That is a huge ask. So I got, of all the different counties, surrounding counties, I got 2 counties who weekly said, well, maybe for some things, and one I haven't heard back from in a while, and the other had said, well, maybe we could, you know, do bond hearings. It's just really a big ask. It's just not something, and maybe just one day a week, just not something that they can really do. So but that's what you have to do first before you can ask for a special prosecutor. So then we ask for special prosecutors, and that goes out to people, usually retired prosecutors, who have said, look, I will put in some hours. So we sent out to, I wanna say 14 or 17, the list was around that. And right now we have one, Tom Cody, who filled in Ashland when they were without a district attorney. And he's willing to do what he said was 2, maybe 3 weeks. He's coming up tomorrow and to try to meet everybody, to find out how things go, to get, you know, the computer, all of that stuff going. And he'll be here Friday. When we're gonna actually try to utilize those 2-3 weeks, we're gonna work on that tomorrow, and Friday, and see what he's willing to do. Then I have a second person, Mary Ellen Karst. She has agreed that she might be able to give us 4 hours a week. Well, that's minimally like charging, and she has other responsibilities. She teaches, she does other things, so mostly what she'll be doing is going through people who are in custody, charging out new criminal complaints, looking at those kind of cases, so I don't know that she'll be a lot of help in court. And then, we have a private attorney, Courtney Graff, because most counties do not have the district attorney's office do chips and TPRs. That's usually done by corporation counsel. This is the only county I've ever had to do it in, and it feels, for me as a prosecutor, really icky, because I am coming in on a CHIPS case, right, when a child needs protection, and then the department has to work, right, cooperatively with that family to get them reunified. They have their own standards and guidelines, but I might be criminally prosecuting the parent. And our interests are not aligned. So, you know, when they're trying to reunify a family, and I can think of a few cases right now, and perhaps there would be a bond motion in criminal court saying, you know what, we want to allow this parent to have contact with this child that was allegedly, you know, abused in some way. and the family court says that's fine, you know, the CHIPS court says that's fine. As a criminal prosecutor, I'm like, I do not want them to have contact with this girl case of death. The manipulation, the coercion, you know, or I think the safety issues are different than what the department assesses them as being, because we have different standards, so it just feels like a huge conflict to me. But anyway, in regards to the coverage plan, it means that there aren't a lot of prosecutors who can step forward with the experience of doing CHIPS, temporary physical place, you know, custodies, termination of parental rights, who just understand how to do it even. And those timelines are so short. So there was nobody who was willing to say yes to that, but Courtney Graff, who is a private attorney, has contracted with some other counties to do those. And she has been willing to take on one case for sure, for us, as she will be the prosecutor on that case. And then she will help as she can. So she'll be the first call that Crystal makes, or our office makes, if there's a hearing or something that needs to or a new petition that needs to be filed, or even just coming back on a case for a permissive plan review. But if her calendar is busy with somebody else, then she's not gonna be able to do that. You know, she's not just saying, yes, I'll do all your cases. She'll do them when she can. And then we might be stuck with a difficulty in having an appearance in court where those timelines are really short, and that needs to happen. So, right now, that's the coverage plan. Oh, Department of Justice. So then, the other thing you do is you shop your critical cases to them. And they are very selective in the cases that they take, because, and most prosecutors are, because you wanna charge out the cases you take, and they want clean cases. Well, once you charge out a case and people start litigating, there is no such thing as a clean case. But they asked me for, at first they said your top 3. I was like, 3? I can think of 15 sex assaults alone. And then they said, well, give us your top 5. So I did that. I have not heard whether they will accept any of those cases. And then there are about 3 that I want to keep as a special prosecutor. A couple of sentencings on, you know, trials that I did, or pleas that I did that were complicated cases that would be hard for another prosecutor to just pick up. But I have to get permission from my new DA. His mother died, and so it's not been an ask that I felt comfortable being able to do right now. But that's my hope, is to keep a couple myself. Any questions?
So, there were no applicants, the governor, and they released a press statement, earlier this month saying that they're still continuing to accept applications on a rolling basis until filled. So, I mean, we have no idea if anyone is interested in coming to Rusk County, relocating completely, and then they would have to run for election again this year because the new term would start in January. But there's always that possibility too. If we're looking at anyone coming out of school, then they would be our next possibility of getting brand new fresh blood. But every department is very short, so it's kind of a hit or miss. We'll just wait and see what happens and cobble together and reschedule things in the meantime.
The other question I have, as I understand now, you sign off the time sheets. Now will that get passed to these interacting DAs?
Ashley has already worked it out with.
At the personnel committee, last week, they approved that I would handle any department head duties until there's a new department head.
Okay, so that don't change that, that's what I was getting at.
She
That don't-
prepares them for me anyway to sign off on.
Right, but that don't change with these other people coming in.
Correct.
Okay. I understood we had done that, but I didn't know now that,
Right, they'll be consulting either on a specific case or handling court for a specific day, or from 1 to 3 on Tuesdays, so they will have very defined times. The nice thing budgetarily is that their hours that they're putting in are reimbursed by the state, the same as the DA or AG's wages would be. Where we will run into some charges is if there's hearings that they can't handle remote, like a jury trial, we would be paying for
other than if no one applies, we just kinda limp along the way we've been and.
In the past, there's been, I mean, there are victim cases where someone's in custody, those kinds of things, where you have to have a bond hearing within a certain number of hours, those we do have. We will, if we can't cobble it together with these people, I'll be asking prosecutors in other counties, can you handle 1 o'clock bond hearings? They won't be charging cases, they'll be going on the record, help establish bond, they'll be working with Nancy for victim rights compliance, so that we can put off making the bigger charging decisions till we have someone on board. Court that's scheduled, you know, jury trial that's scheduled in 3 weeks, they may just go on the record and say, we're just gonna reschedule this out optimistically 2 months, or sometimes they'll put a status hearing on for 2 months from now and then schedule it once they have the attorney on board.
The
So-
issues come when defendants want to raise speedy trial demands, or when they're in custody and they ask for a prompt disposition. That could become a real issue.
But there's no simple answer as to how we'll deal with that till the actual moment
So,
arises.
each case, it's gonna be different.
It's gonna be a challenge every day.
No, other than, you really have been an amazing committee to work for. And I really appreciated it. And this is not the decision that I did lightly or one that I wanted to make, but truly I thought it was also in the best interest of the county. And I want you to know that, I am Citizen Anderson now. Citizen Anderson in Rusk County, and so when I return, I'll be over there as a citizen, and appreciate the work you do from that side. Thank you.
It was a pleasure.
Was a
Crystal,
pleasure.
you,
Yeah.
the circuit clerk,
I don't have anything to add, that would be Laura. And you did have one piece of good news come through today, the DOJ agreed to keep all
We had that homicide, last week, and they did this afternoon approve taking that, so the two, state traffic prosecutors, Kara Jen Lowe and Emily Thompson, will prosecute that case.
thank you too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I understand.
Extension office business. You got your.
I don't have anything.
Is there any oncoming traffic? Yeah. Your report.
These came in.
Oh, good, good, good.
I got even more stuff for you.
Maybe if you made a nation. What a break.
Somebody bought a pretty full bag of peanut M&Ms today. All the way home. I don't need no more
You
sugar.
may not need 'em. Well, I'll just pick 'em up. Here. Seems like a long week.
3 pounds.
Wow. We should have an M&M
Ooh.
contest.
Almost.
Not a good idea. Good.
All right, I'll give you a couple updates, some more reading material, and, where you wanna land today. So, first off, I wanted to just give you a quick update about the AmeriCorps position over at Flambeau School. Been meeting with Serenity Hutchie over there, pretty regularly, and she has between 85 and 90 students that are coming through 3rd, 4th, and 6th grade.
was a hard twist to go to a warm state like that.
I hope it's really cold, March
Yeah.
1st to the 6th.
Hope it rains all the time.
Well, fine, just fine. So, anyway, Bridget and Kathy, should be here next month, I won't be here, but also Jason, the assistant being my supervisor, is slated to be here too, so to kind of keep you updated on what's happening, so, he was gonna be here today, and I said, well, maybe next month will be better, since I won't be here. Keep you updated on what we're doing, so,
Darcy, how many, people do we have that, like, bring in other things besides animals? I mean, we had a gal that placed, was it the quilt square that she did, or the cross stitch?
She showed at State Fair?
Yes.
Shar in my office saying 150. I think we had 200 and some last year.
We have no idea.
I'd have to ask for it.
I mean, we do have a lot, and we do have which is pretty.
I think that the discussions that I heard over the listening sessions were, what about the, trips, what about speech, what about, not, I don't wanna say just fair things, but not only fair things, but other things that 4-H.
We used to have the cultural arts day, and that hasn't been here for 10, 12 years at least. That used to be a pretty big thing, but it was an all-day thing.
So yeah, that's consistent with what we were hearing from the various surveys. So there's that piece for you, and, I also, said that I would bring back kind of the, job description, so I copied off one just as the last one that we used, and knowing, knowing that there are, some things in here, again, I'm gonna highlight a couple. A little bit, well, I'll start here by just saying that the qualifications, you can see required and preferred. So based on what we're hearing, based on discussions here, the required and preferred will get tweaked a little bit as we move forward with the hire for Rusk County. I do want to let you know that the, sometimes the required qualifications, I don't wanna say are limited, but we try really hard to not put everything into the required qualifications, because if we do, and someone applies for the job, and, they have not met all of the required qualifications, then we don't move them, we can't move them forward in an interview process. Yeah. So usually our required qualifications are a little less stringent than, others, and then, during that screening process, we can decide, if someone else has preferred qualifications as well and how they move forward. So, anyway, I'll be looking at the qualifications section, the summary, the part down below, you can see the areas for initial programmatic focus. What we wrote up before might be different than what I just pointed out, the bulleted things of this, information, right? So it might be more of the leaderboard development, the committee bylaws, the resetting of 4-H, working with 4-H volunteers. So that will be more of that initial programmatic focus, on the new job description. And then, the standard summary, you can see on page 2, it says outreach specialist. Just so you know, that's kind of the HR lingo, I would say. An outreach specialist, all of our educators are slated as an outreach specialist. So that's not necessarily their job title, but in the HR system, it's the code that goes with it. Those essential responsibilities are true for any outreach specialist. The percentage, the 20, 15, 10, 10, 5, all of those things are adjustable. What the essential responsibilities are, aren't necessarily, but we can always add in unique responsibilities too. So again, you can see what we did last time as what the job was and what percentages were attached to that. So I'll be looking at that too as we move forward. description, but certainly wanted to give that to you so you know kind of where we're headed. And certainly if there are things on here that you're like, whoa, Lori, can we talk about it? Absolutely. Just let me know, because I'm not posting it tomorrow, so I have some time to gather input from you too. If there's anything on here that's feeling like.
Take a little time to read it and suggest it, sure. I do too.
You got it, I'm telling you.
So, I wanted to make sure, I wanted to make sure you had that for your reading pleasure and for, as I start now from the visioning sessions to start to tweak that. If there's other things that come to mind from all of you, I'm happy to entertain it for putting in there, okay? So that's what I know about that. I'll say what else we're doing is, you saw us talk about bylaws in a few spaces, and again, I'm not sure what Jess is gonna talk about, but that's certainly on our radar of all the different committees, all the different clubs, all the different parts of 4-H to look at that, just to help guide the next steps. So, doing that, roles and responsibilities, we're looking at that as well. Jennifer Swinson, program manager, was at the last leaders board meeting, and mentioned like, okay, here's how this should work, and kind of resetting some of that. And so it's not a surprise that counties function in a way that maybe traditionally has happened, and for us to, again, just look at, I say kick over the rocks, but start to unturn things and go, oh, okay, well, let's address that. Let's make sure that's aligned as well. And so during all of this time, that's what we've been focusing on, is really trying to align expectations of everyone. And so that's all part of it too, continuing to do that. And then there's even a handy dandy, I pulled this off the shelf, building an effective board of directors through 4-H. And it's a pretty old document, but it has a lot of great information in it for us to work through. Not every single page, but certainly something that helps guide work. And by looking at it, I thought, oh yeah, Rusk County is not the only county that has needed some attention when it comes to bylaws and board development and all of that. So we'll be looking at this as well, as everything else that we look to really, again, right set some great stuff and support and get us moving in the right direction. So there's that. Anyone want, I'll pause.
Any questions? I was just gonna ask.
Not so far, but thank you for the cookies.
Hey, you're welcome. Okay, all right, I'll keep going a little bit, because if I were in your shoes, I'd be saying, well, what's next? What are you gonna do next? So I'm gonna be looking at the job description. Any of you have any input about that?
So do you want information or input on this prior to the next meeting?
Sure.
Or do you want, like, if we peruse this and see something that we have concern or issue with?
Yeah.
To bring it up at the next meeting, or?
I think that's whatever you wanna do. I'm happy to keep
I'm either
moving
way,
along.
that's it. I mean, if you come up with something, as individuals, you wanna pass it on to Lori, that's fine by me.
Well, I mean, I guess, to me, it would be something that should be brought up at the committee level, so that everybody can hear it and weigh in on what you might have to say. That's the way it should, I believe.
And I don't disagree with that either, but I know if something is passed on before the job description is settled, Lori's gonna bring it back here.
Right.
With whatever was turned in, so.
Right, so I don't know how quickly you wanna.
That's kind of up to you as well, cause what's that? We need this person like yesterday. So that's all I was gonna say, is that if we wait until March for you to give me input, then I feel like it's slowing it down more, and I would prefer to not, but I'm happy to do that if that's your pleasure.
We're critical, it's getting to be critical.
Yeah, it is. That's why, I don't think,
So if we see something, just let Lori know.
Yeah, and I don't think, there's nobody sitting here that's gonna do some kind of a disinterest to the kids.
Absolutely not.
so,
For me.
right.
And I'm happy that if you're giving me input, I'm happy to also say, okay, hey, here's the finished job description, send it out. Let everyone look at it, I'm fine to kind of keep going.
Maybe send it prior to the meeting, then we got time to read it and digest it too.
No.
That means it'd be another month.
No.
We can kind of keep going.
Yeah.
So here's what else I'll share with you, because I know there's an urgency, and I don't know that any of us have ever wanted everything to stop. And I hope that you know that I haven't stopped working on this for months now, and I don't think anyone else has. And I don't want the things that we know that need to happen with or without an educator in place. And so what I'm proposing, but I haven't done it because I really do value input from this committee, is that I have met with my supervisor as well as the institute director and said, can I bring someone in on an interim basis immediately from another county, from someone who's retired? Can I get this moving so that they can start addressing some of those bullet points, so that things are forward momentum is happening before the new educator is hired, and then everyone's working together for that. Not, well, here, let's just wait, we might be April, might be May, might be we don't have an educator. And I'm happy to say that everyone is in agreement, like, yeah, and we have a couple people earmarked to say, yep, let's bring them in, let's do this. They've done it before. Eileen Van Dyke, having conversations with her, who has said, I'm happy to have more of a conversation, it might be something I'm interested in. And I've said, well, I don't wanna speak anymore until I've had this conversation with you today. So I'm happy to keep things moving.
On my own standpoint, I mean, I dealt with a bunch of stuff here when Eileen was in, which was an interim position, and I would relish getting somebody in here to keep things moving forward. I mean, I'm 1 out of 4 sitting here, yeah, definitely.
What's everybody looking at me for?
Is Eileen one of them?
Yeah, I, in my head, in conversations that I've had, is Eileen Van Dyke to come and help with certain parts of that, as well as Donna over in Sawyer County, who camps with Rusk, who knows Rusk, who's the library director in Winter, like, knows the community, and between the two of them, kind of tag teaming with some of the things that need to happen. And Eileen's been involved with it in the past. Donna's been a 4-H leader over in Sawyer County for years before, was the treasurer there, was on the leaders board, has that experience, and so bringing in some people that can hit the ground running for you. And it's not gonna be a full-time between the two of them, is my guess, although if Eileen wanted to, if Donna wanted to, but I don't know if I can muster up 40 hours a week, but I'm really trying to keep those doors open. If you all said, yeah, let's move, then I wanna do that.
I'm good.
I'm good.
Okay. So I'll continue.
Somebody wanna move that? To the minutes?
Second.
Great.
Motion's been made and seconded to, have Lori bring interim 4-H educators in until we have a full-time person hired. Is there any further questions or comments on the motion on the floor? Excuse me.
Just wondering, do we pay them or does the state pay them? I don't know.
That would be the same as through our contract.
I would just monitor, say they're doing 25 hours a week, then that's what you would be billed in the first quarter, like Charmaine and I would throw that out.
Is there any other questions on the motion on the floor? None being heard, all in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Yeah.
Yay. So,
I just want to applaud that.
yeah, I know, I tell ya.
That's good news.
It's creative thinking to try and keep things going, especially with people who are familiar with the county and don't, and to set the county up and set the new educator up, I really feel like it's a good move to try, something new to try and, get some things aligned and forward. So, that's what I know. On my other, two things on here are, what are other things that, you all can do to help set the next educator up for success? I think that's gonna be my continued question. Like, everyone has a part in this, so, what are we all doing with that? And then who wants to work with me, to hire the person? You know, I'll ask that every time too. Traditionally, we
I
have.
said on the last one.
I know John said that
No,
last
I
time.
didn't, I don't care.
You don't have to make a decision today either, just know that, I'll just keep saying that every month, like, I hope it will happen soon, that we'll be posting and then reviewing and, seeing what we can do, but traditionally, we have had 1 or 2 people from the committee that's been involved in the interview process with us too. As I've said, I've never hired someone by myself, it's a group effort, so, keep it in mind.
The 42.6, is that what will be on the thing then?
Oh, the salary?
Yeah.
It's increased since then.
Okay.
Yeah, and I would say, but again, whatever that outreach specialist minimum salary is what I normally advertise at. Because if it just depends, but whatever the minimum is what I'll advertise, and then some people will say, well, wait a minute, don't I get paid more than that? Can't I get paid more?
So in that
Depending on your-
qualifications.
Yeah.
But traditionally, we bring educators in at more than 42.6. But if it's a brand new educator, which I don't want for your county, but if it were a brand new educator, that would be the minimum salary.
Further questions for Lori? Thank you.
It took a half.
I have, come on, God. Oh, you still Lois did it. That's why I did it, I knew Lois.
I'm just waiting.
Yeah, that was.
Oh, I didn't pass with it.
Leaders Council bylaws, Jess, you wanna?
It seems appropriate for me to hear this.
Got no issue.
Alright, so, I have more than I want, so just, I'll try to make this quick.
Make it quick, I'm late.
So, what's going on
I'm gonna
here?
be late for my next meeting, I can tell you that.
Me too.
As Laura, we talked about at the last Leaders Council meeting, redoing bylaws. Jennifer was on the line. There's a lot of things brought to our attention that some of us on Leaders Council didn't know. Okay, so there does need to be a big change within our county and the bylaws. So what I'm asking for you guys, and they'll work on that part. I am not part of that subcommittee, but what I am asking, the more I think about it, is that Charmaine, she is our support staff to us as parents and 4-H leaders in this county. That's who we see. And I'm speaking on behalf of numerous 4-H leaders that have come to me. Char's not getting the credit. We all go to her, and I don't think people realize that. She's our constant. It's not the educator. We had how many educators here just in the last 6 years, 7 years, whatever it's been. And it's difficult because we don't do this every day. We're just volunteers. And we have tons of questions, and she can find everything for us. Everything. It doesn't matter. It might take her a little bit, she will dig for it and find it. We have no one else. And so when I hear that Char maybe doesn't need to be at a meeting, it's just Leaders Council, she doesn't need to be there, she does need to be there. Because we have leaders that don't even know how to use Zoom, don't have cell phones, don't do email. You know, again, we're volunteers, we're not required to do this. She has to be there. And she doesn't tell you guys this stuff, but we're all seeing it, the stress. Us 4-H leaders that are very involved are seeing the stress that's put on her. And so I'm just really asking that you guys, take note of that. If that, I guess, is the best way I can put it. And please don't leave her out, because if you do, from a 4-H standpoint, it doesn't matter, and I'm not being disrespectful, it doesn't matter that we get a new educator 3-6 months from now, whatever it's gonna be. We're an interim. They're not going to be the go-to for local families. Local families know Shar. We're so used to going through people that she's our person. And so she's not, and we know she's not supposed to do 4-H. We know that's not in her job description, but it's getting thrown in her lap. You know, or it is the educator. Well, we don't have one. We don't have that person, so all of us go to her.
And I think that being said, there was a bunch of stuff brought to my attention here in the last 4 or 5 days of, and I'm not trying to cut on anybody, and again, I'll say it, no disrespect, of a bunch of stuff that wasn't done, was messed up, that Charmaine evidently climbed over rocks and whatever to get straightened out and fixed for us. That being said, I think the 4-H and this committee, and probably this county included, owe Charmaine a debt of gratitude for that. I agree with Jess, it's not in Charmaine's job description, but I will say 100%, that's who the people are gonna go to. That's who they know, that's who is always here. How many different educators we've had, and even back when my kids were in 4-H, they'd come in to talk to the educator's not here. Charmaine always answered the questions for them. And I don't want to disrespect an educator in that manner, but there's gotta be somebody that's in that office all the time that is allowed to answer these questions or can find the answers. And why not be allowed to go to a leaders council meeting or something, so she knows when somebody does ask, she automatically knows instead of has to research it. Are you at all on board?
Absolutely you are, and I brought up another thing, you have 4-H online, we have to, that's how we enroll, re-enroll, all of that, all 4-H kids. It's a little confusing at times, if you're not super tech savvy, let's do it, everyone call Shar. If we need a report, we call Shar as leaders, so that boils down right to the families. I was doing some fair stuff the other day, and a parent came in, I know her very well, her daughter's from not in my 4-H club though, she needed help, she got one of her daughters enrolled, needed the other 2 enrolled. Shar helped her, because she's the one that's doing it to keep our 4-H numbers up and keep our, families. And so when I hear people like, very few don't feel Shar maybe is doing it, I'm like, or doing enough for, and she does not know I'm saying this, guys, just so you know. That's why she's got her head down and won't look at me. But I'm like, I'm sorry, we need her as leaders, as 4-H leaders here. That's why, as a parent, when I have something for Bray, I'm going to her. If Brittany can't get it for me, pretty soon Brittany's gonna be gone. I have to get Char. So it's like, I just wanna make sure that we are thinking through, because it's super important for our county and for our 4-H kids and our families, that we do this. And so, I'm not gonna go into the bylaws things, because again, this whole 4-H Leaders Council, I have a lot to learn. I was never invited, as I've been a leader now for years, I was never invited to be on Leaders Council by any educator. Any of our 4-H educators we've had has never reached out to me as a leader. And, but guess who did? Shar explained to me, Jess, you need to be coming. Why? I didn't know I had to come. I didn't know I was supposed to be part of this group. So she explained to me, so now this is where I've been for the last year, So it's like, there's so much more that she's done that you guys don't realize from the 4-H side, and it's really not hers to do. So I just wanna make sure that, please let her stay involved. Please let her keep coming and pay her for it, because we need her. So it's very important for our county. So that's all I'm gonna say about that.
Hold on before you go any further, if you would, please. That begs me the question, First, I'm gonna ask you, Shar, what percentage of your time is support staff?
15%.
Where should that be?
I mean, that's what we've said from the get-go when we're talking about aligning expectations. I don't disagree, like, 4-H online, that's a support staff, thing in lots of other counties of trying to provide that kind of stuff. I know Charmaine has been way involved in all of this, and so, but that's what we were saying from the get-go, that's one of the other things that needs aligned in Rusk County is the amount of support staff availability for this position, for the size of the program, the 4-H program in Rusk County.
With everything you do, Shar, for 4-H, would it fall in that 25% of your time or no? Or is it 30 or 40 or is it 20?
I know there's a lot of things that I could be doing more of, I just simply don't have time. So I would think 25 could cover it, cause my main amount of hours is at the end of the year. With a year closing, new year coming, all the award ceremonies, things like that, that's big time, and the budget time. You know, so there's only a few kind of
And the fair
intense
time,
times,
fair.
but I would think, huh?
And the fair time.
Well, that's a whole nother,
Separate,
that's
yeah.
20% of my time, but anyway, yeah, I would think 25 would do it. I mean, I do what absolutely needs to be done, and I put fires out and I move on, because I'm spread so thin, and many of my jobs have blossomed. So many people more use the fairgrounds, use trails, and the senior center. I got 17 groups that meet down there. Keeping all of that together is insane. So I personally, since I've done the job since 2007 in extension, I would think 25 would be good. But I honestly think you need to find somebody else other than me to do that. Or something else has to give. I'm going nuts.
That's kind of where I'm going, but we need the numbers to know that, Shar.
Yeah, technically on paper, I'm 20 fair, 15 extension, 50 buildings and grounds, 5 IT, and 10 recycling.
Okay. Just, I needed the numbers.
I think that's all I have.
Okay.
And I mean, I'll say, is maybe you're hearing that I'm telling her not to do things, is that what you're hearing?
No, she knows. We'll ask for stuff and we know it's not her. We know, you know, we've been told many times, she's not 4-H. So, but yet, you know, I mean, she is, but she's not. That's just not her role, but yet we don't have anyone else. And that's all I'm saying. So when these Leaders Council bylaws are rewritten, she does need to be involved because you're not here. We don't have an educator here to explain, and Tammy isn't doing it. You know, Tammy's a volunteer just like I'm a volunteer.
Jess, I think part of what needs to be heard is this committee too, to tell Charmaine what she's gotta do. Instead of.
Yeah, because I'm trying to protect
Instead
her,
of
I
it-
think Charmaine will say, like, I'm saying, like, I don't know, do you need to be, I can make copies, I don't want you to be here, I don't want you to stay.
But, well,
If it's not part of her job.
but if this committee says, do this, then she's not questioned down the road either. So I think
But with
that's,
Leaders Council, I'm not part of this, so we need to be told, we need to have that go to, okay, can you interpret this for me now? Someone that's at that meeting, hearing it. She's again the person there. Tammy's, yeah, she's the Leaders Council president, she's no different than me. She's just a volunteer that comes in for a meeting, she doesn't work here. I don't have access to her daily, we have access to her as leaders. That's the thing, so if she's not there, it doesn't have firsthand knowledge of what's going on, it's not gonna be effective in getting the message to us. An email isn't always effective. Diane doesn't do email and stuff. Diane is a perfect example, and she's been a leader for many years and is a good leader. It's if email's great to a certain point. Email blasts are great to a certain point. But other communication is a lot more times effective. Old school is still effective. Talking.
think for me, it's all part of this alignment. What's the educator's role? And what's a support staff's role? And what's my role? And what's a leader person? You know, like all of that is what we're trying to clean up right now. And I agree, Charmaine has a great role in all of this, or that position has a great role in all of this, but really making sure everyone knows who's doing what.
Any questions for Jess?
Charmaine, would you accept this? You said if, you know,
Right now, I can't give any more than I'm giving, I can say that, or something else has to go, and I'm so behind in my other jobs, it's insane, so.
Well, I've had conversation, you know, with Ashley, and the new Ashley I haven't had yet, but I've been saying this for a long time. This all needs to get realigned. And I've shared some different job descriptions from other support staff.
Yes. My thought pattern is that, this needs to go to personnel and this needs to be looked at.
What was your percentage again there?
Well, right now it's 20. When I initially started, we had a lot of agents and it was 52%. So,
Right, but
But-
what was all your percentage rates again?
I'm 20 fair, 15 extension, 50 buildings and grounds, so that's Trails and Fairgrounds and Youth, all the county buildings, 5 IT and 10 recycling. It does equal 100, but.
Or does it equal 140?
Well, there's a lot that doesn't get done. I make mistakes, I don't have time to, you know, check my work, I fly by the seat of my pants.
it is too talented.
Well, I like to stay busy, but.
Yeah, but she knows it.
I'll make a motion to push this to personnel to relook at Charmaine's job descriptions.
Percentages. Percentages.
Percentage?
Motion has been made to move the personnel to look at percentages of Charmaine's job or job description, I guess.
That is about three.
Yeah, how it goes.
Person that we hired to be the
Is there a second? Second by Lois. Is there any further questions or, yes, go ahead.
I'm just curious, are there any of your responsibilities that could be reassigned to somebody else's?
Another department.
Another department possibly that could alleviate some of the.
Yeah, that's why it's coming. Yeah,
That's the extent of it, well, that's,
yeah, that's why it would go.
okay, I was just curious if she would, Charmaine would give us, say, like, yeah, is this good or?
That's up to her, but that's why it would go to personnel.
Okay, alright. Sorry,
Is there any other questions? None being heard, all in favor signify by aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Let's go into personnel.
Is that something you want me to attend?
I don't think
Is
you,
it appropriate, want me to?
well,
I've
you
shared
could,
job descriptions before.
I guess you could, but I don't think you have to. We're looking for a percentage, I guess, is my standpoint on it.
I'll continue to work with the Ashleys and.
Yeah, I think the percentages need to be adjusted as from what I'm hearing anyhow, so.
We just need to relook at it.
But that's up to, you know, different committees, so.
I'll check in with the Ashleys, cause over the years, I just keep providing different job descriptions of this is what it looks like and responsibilities and. If you want me there, happy to.
Trails End.
Well, just, for extension,
Oh, okay,
giving back
sorry.
about $7,600 to county levy. So a lot of that is because we were without an educator for a month or a half or whatever. We were down in expenses, over in my time. But, so that's good news for the budget, just so you know. So Trails End, we haven't had a meeting. James is still working on the swinging bridge. He's going to property again. And the only other thing on there is I did receive a request to coyote hunt at Trails End. It would be just in the winter months. He's aware of the hunting map, he's aware of boundaries, he's aware of the bridge out. So right now, our hunting policy is only for deer during the rifle season, but I've asked a couple people who have problem trapped out there, and one of our DNR rep, he had no problem with it. So since Justice Susan Extension is the oversight for Trails End, just asking permission to allow this person to.
Is there a problem that you know of?
No.
No, I mean with the number of coyotes or.
I don't know.
Just asking.
I'm not up on that. If I'm at Trails End, it's in the summertime usually.
That's not part of it.
Really, John?
And we don't have cameras out that far, so.
I don't know if that's up to committee.
I'll make a motion to request the grant of coyote hunting. I don't see a problem.
Motion's made to grant a request for coyote hunting. Is there a second?
I'll second them.
Second by Lois. Is there any questions on the motion?
No.
All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That passes, Charmaine, so.
Okay, I'll let him know.
You got anything else for Trails End?
No.
Okay, guess you're up again, fair business.
So we had our meeting last Sunday. Just going through, the contracts for each day. We made some good decisions on some things that we needed done. Work on sponsors. I gotta even schedule events. Sheriff Burnett is sent over regular packets, and we work on judges, so now don't have all of those done. We're working on it. It for that part. We did add, I think we've told you guys this, we are, I'm gonna tell more. We're adding another event to our rodeo this year, so we're doing the breakaway roping.
You brought it off, it was unfinalized at that time.
Rusk has uploaded it. $1,000 payout for that. And is there anything big, Sean?
We finalized some things with demo derby.
Teamsters Day, they put that out. So we work on talking to companies with insurance for that right now. Sounds good, that. Otherwise, we're just going on.
So far, so good, then.
Yeah, we got bands lined up. We're sitting really good right now.
Contracts. Unless there's any questions for Jess. Contracts.
And there's, 3 more than what was in your packet. Busy time for contracts. So there's the rodeo that you have in your packet. And then this is the addendum, so it actually puts the money down in advance for the rodeo. Then we have bleachers. This is the same company we've used the last 2 years. Half Twisted, Half Not, he's our balloon artist. You've already approved him, but that was when we had him 1 day. Well, at the fair, convention, I got him to come 3 days, so he did a contract for each individual day, so, and he went down in price, so, he's $1,000 a day rather than $1,250, so I got 3 for him. Then we have Grandpa Cratchit. He is new. He's from far away, I believe Pennsylvania, so he wants to come all 4 days. So this is a larger amount, $6,000 for all 4 days. He is willing to go to nursing home, daycare, we kind of get him, like I think 5 hours a day. I'm already working on getting some sponsorship from certain organizations on that one.
What does he do?
Katie's here, you wanna explain Grandpa Cratchit?
Explain Grandpa Cratchit.
He's like a puppet guy, so you don't see him, you see a little puppet out of this big trailer, and he does shows and he teaches different educational spotlights. He's interactive, you can walk up to the trailer after the show, we'll, give the kids hugs or give them coloring books, that kind of thing. Just really interactive with the kids, and like my kids, we seen him at the Barron County Fair last year, and he was awesome, so we gotta get him. So.
And he has this puppet mobile strolling thing, he goes throughout, drives around in this little fire truck.
So we'll have Grandpa and Gizmo strolling around. It's a very lengthy contract, many pages, but I just gave it all to you, because if approved, Connie will have to initial every page. Track Patrol, this is for the truck tractor pull. It's the same amount as last year. The horse pull, same amount as last year. And then this other one, Wisconsin Department of Veterans Affairs. I'm working with our insurance company. This is a very large display. It's kind of like a projector screens that pull up, and it talks about all the veterans in Wisconsin. So we're hoping to have the whole log cabin wall filled with that. But we have to have special insurance from the moment we pick it up to back. So I'm working with our insurance company on that. The display itself doesn't cost anything, but we'll have to get additional insurance to cover that. And this talks about it, but since we're working on it, I thought you guys should see that. That is it. That's plenty of contracts right there.
What was the one before that, Shark?
Horse pull.
Horse pull.
Thank you.
Yep.
I have a question. We decided, I believe, to get the, Vietnam, was it the Vietnam? Yeah.
That's that one there. That's that
Oh,
one.
is that?
Yeah,
Okay.
Wisconsin Veterans Museum Traveling
So-
Exhibit.
I mean, we have to come pick it up, right? And then we have to return it.
Mm-hmm. Yep, but, Polk County, I believe, used this last year, and so when we were at the Association of Fairs, we saw a picture of it. Super cool, and there's somebody in Hawkins that picked theirs up, so we're hoping to work and find that person and do it for us. Yeah, yep.
We may also have some of the AMVETs, they're interested also in helping too, so it sounds like we have multiple people that are willing to, we don't have Daryl is spearheading this, and so he doesn't have an exact date yet of all that, but once he gets closer, he'll coordinate that and see who's available to go down and grab it and bring it back.
And our theme this year is Barn in the USA, so you're gonna have a lot of patriotic stuff all over the fairground, so it's just super cool, especially with AMVETS helping out as much and being a large sponsor. It's very fitting to have this, and at the Fair Association, we learned other counties, they actually have, we're gonna look on Flagpole, remember, check out that. They actually raise the flag and lower the flag every day. They have vets come and do it, and everything stops on the fairgrounds when that happens. Super cool, get goosebumps just saying that. So we're hoping to increase things like that at the fair.
Are there gonna be people or persons inside there demonstrating, the display? Or
It's just gonna be, you can walk in front of it and see it, it's just all of these, kinda like going to the farm show and you see like the tourism things, you know, you can look at it. It does not need to be manned, so it's just something that, and it gets locked up at night, cause it'll be in the log building, but, yeah. And, you know, we could tie it in with the historical museum, they always like to do things, maybe they would have a vet come and talk about it, I mean, possibilities are endless, we just need to get it approved and get insurance for it so we can make everything official.
Is there any questions on the contracts that you're asking to,
Yeah, I got one question. It's just my opinion, just because it's me. The rodeo, we having the same announcer we had last night, or last year, or the year before?
Did I not tell you?
whatever they became?
We're getting someone else. Thank goodness.
That's it.
Is there any other questions on the contracts that are up for approval for the fair? Being heard, is there a motion to approve?
The motion to approve the contracts.
Motion's been made by Lois to approve the contracts for the, Rusk County Fair contracts. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Tom Kudo. Is there any further comments or questions? Motion on the floor. None being heard, all in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay, fairgrounds report.
Not much happening out there, but I believe the handicap doors got installed today for the senior youth building. Yeah, so that's exciting. You know, senior youth building is a hoppin', it's so much usage there. We had a very, very successful Winter's Farmers Market last Saturday. We filled up dining, we had to go into Maple Crest. Wonderful.
The place was packed with cars.
Yes, super cool, super cool. But we have lots of usage agreements, so I don't really have anything under fairgrounds report. So,
Okay, I went to the room, I guess it's up to you guys, do you want to approve them all as one or individually, or?
just wanna mention a few things about some of them. The Zach Serp wedding, that's actually 2025, if you didn't catch that. We're gonna have a jam-packed weekend here. So this is actually a Tuesday. The Sunday before is demo derby, the Saturday before is a wedding, so we're hoping it doesn't snow, we're hoping everything aligns, the stars align, and, that's just, it's a great problem to have, all of this usage. It's just, that's like the busiest week, it seems like. So we're hoping everything works.
Has everybody else had a chance to look at the usage agreements?
And then that would include the waivers too, if these are approved. Cause like this wedding is for alcohol and quiet times.
Is there any questions on the usage agreements? Or anything you see changed? None being heard, I would entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Motion's made by Tom Kudo to approve the usage agreements. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Lois. Is there any further questions or comments on the usage agreements? None being heard, all in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Usage agreements are approved. Okay. Demo and rebuild of east wing of the fairgrounds.
So, John, that one. We currently, as you
attached on the round barn has been boarded up. We're not allowed to use it from property committee last year and wanted us taping it off. So our numbers are up again this year, at this point with exhibitors after going through livestock orientation. Of course, that can change anytime just like last year, but we're going in, everything came to fruition, numbers were up, we needed all stalls. This year our numbers are even more than they were last year. We're needing this space. So John has come up and Eric Stanger have both worked I asked for multiple groups to come up with ideas. What do you want? What is your solution? What for input on anything that they thought. Eric is the only one that's come forward, except John, to give ideas to replace this building at this point, to give us some more room. So, you can explain if you would.
Okay, so I'll touch on Eric's first. This kind of goes back to what we did, the plan we had, was it last year, year before, to just basically replace what's there. He got a bid from Lambert's. It's a extreme bare bones building, no concrete in the floor. I think we should go with concrete. And his bid came out to like 18,000. Go up, chart. At the second end.
Wasn't it 19,205?
It was, but that was with tax. So we'd be tax exempt. So he's 18,204.42, and that is bare bones. I mean, so and his, like I said, it was just your regular 412 pitch roof, you know, and basically build back what we have. Except he had 64 feet long, which is 4 feet longer than what that building is. I would suggest we only go 60. We don't want to narrow up that road any more than it already is. So I came up with a design, looking into, of course, the future of what else do we want to do besides just this building. And for this, you know, right now, and it's not really a quick fix. It would be, you know, obviously, you know, something permanent that we'd continue to use. Is just going 30 by 60 and go to the next one, sharp, with a 10-foot apron out front, and even the next one down there. But do it more of a, this would be looking at it from the south side, do more of a lean-to style roof on it with a 312 pitch. So we have a 12-foot wall on the north side, because in the future our goal is to still potentially put a building on that north side. Either it be a show arena, a new beef and dairy barn, you know, what have you. Is start improving these buildings and, you know, create some bigger ones. Not just for the fair though, but for all these uses. I mean, the multi-purpose building, putting concrete in that is getting booked left and right. So by doing that, by going with the lean-to style roof, you can just attach a building to the backside. You can tie it right in. If you go with the gable style, and we'll talk with this, we're gonna meet with Eric. You would have to potentially take your roof completely off to tie a new building onto it. So this would be simple. I got a bid from Tony Lumber, and that bid came in at 24/7. However, where Eric's is more of a pull shed style, what Tony Lumber bid me was a 2x6 framed walls with, you know, in case they're closed in with chipboard, Tyvek, and then steel on the outside. So, like if you look at like the Lambert's bid, there's 16 items on the line item. On mine, there's 50. There's a lot more material. Either way, you can, you know, I mean, estimates can change. But so you can go up, Shire, unless you guys want to read through all the material that's going into it. Basically, it'd just be that lean-to style, then we can attach it on. This right now, if we, in doing concrete in there, I used some of our old quotes that we had last year, except for concrete. I've already found out concrete went up $20 a yard this year. Excavation, it's kind of a toss-up. I went also what we kind of did in the multi-purpose to tie into here. It is about half the size, but I know there's a lot of clay in this barn too, and we're gonna have to bring in a lot of fill. So right now, potentially we're sitting at about $68,000 to tear down the old building and put up a new one. The labor bill came from Kane's Construction. That was their labor bill or bid from last year to to put up basically the same style, so. That's kinda what we're looking at, cause and I mean, you can see like in the chart, if you wanna go to those other pictures looking with, this is what we're hoping for it to look like in the future. Right now, we need the quick, something out there so we can use this east wing. And in the future, we're hoping to tie on a barn about like that, and that's what it'd look like from the east side and the front view there. It could become more of like a entrance area or, you know, what have you, but, for now, that's what we're looking at. And I mean, we can strip these down, and I mean, I think 68,000 would be by far the top dollar of what this would cost, so.
Now, this was the Tony one, or was this Lambert?
This is Tony. So, and like I said, there's just 24,700. I pulled out, they encased this entire thing, they put chipboard in the whole thing. So if you've been down in the multi-purpose building and you're inside it, you see your big posts and steel. If you took the chipboard out, I'd knock this down to 21,000 and I got a frame 2x6 wall, and versus having, you know, like laminated posts in there. So you could probably get cheaper with laminated posts, and I mean, I could have them write it up. I know it would be cheaper. Just looking at the comparison of costs of materials between Lampert's and Tony. But I took the chipboard out and it had chipboard and tieback, and it cut a little over $3,000 off. So.
You also have a door on here, correct?
Yes, there's 2 doors on there.
This does not have.
It does not. It has the framing for them, but doesn't include.
So they're very similar.
Mm-hmm. It's just a lot of the main difference between them is basically the roof style. Going with like the more lean-to with that 312 pitch, you can just tie another building right to it, which would be our goal in the future.
And this is not up to this committee, this is up to this committee to pass it to property.
Yeah.
That's what we would ask if you'd like to go there for now.
Said, is there any questions?
I'll make a motion for property.
Motion's been made to forward this to property, is there a second? Seconded by Tom. Is there any further questions on the motion on the floor? None being heard, all in favor, signify by aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Bills.
Let me give them to you, Terry. Let me give them to you.
I read them.
Well, I think I can. What was wrong? Oh, that's what they are, that's them.
No, you didn't give them to me either.
I'm sorry.
No, I said the bills.
Oh, you called that already?
Yeah.
Oh, I'll make a motion to pay that.
Motion's been made to pay the bills as presented. Second.
Second.
Is there any questions? None being heard, all in favor signify by aye. Opposed, same sign. Bills are paid.
Let me sign these tomorrow.
Sure. You wanna keep them, or you want me to give them to you?
I can.
Totally fine. Some of them are duplicates, but
That way I can go
I threw them all in there, yeah.
that's it. Rush to adjust the time. Ask if up and over. Because I have a meeting after this one every time. So does Lois, and that one got moved up, so.
Absolutely. Yeah, maybe 3, I think that would be very nice.
So you guys,
So this. 3. 3 good people.
Here's, yeah, Jess's husband hand drew these, and so there's a lot more species coming, but this is just a start of it, so they're animal planters, so.
Those are so cool.
What?
That would entertain a motion, but
Oh, is it old guy or?
You done signing?
no,
I'm done signing.
that would entertain a motion to adjourn. I said I would entertain, I didn't make it.
You get them every time.
John seconds. All in favor, signify by aye. Opposed, same sign. We are adjourned.
So this is, Lois, you were asking about Grandpa Cratchit. He has a very huge display, and then this is the traveling, truck that goes around, but he has many different characters. So there's lots of YouTube videos, and he has a Facebook